Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a special video to show you how to hit damage over 100,000. You can see over here we're currently looking at a stream shot of a Chinese player hitting over 500,000 damage. And I promised earlier, before this video, on the past video, I'll explain how is that Mona can do so much damage. We'll go through all the details and we can learn so much from this. I have prepared a pretty comprehensive notes for how to do this much damage with Mona with correct calculations and looking into skill passive for different units and also the support characters, the artifact set, and also how is damage calculated with food and also the abusive floor that was currently used for that particular damage. We'll go through the damage calculation and also we'll go through all the Excel calculation and all the information I have for you guys. Now before we start, you might be wondering, I do not have Mona. And why do I need to care if Mona can hit this hard? This is because if you understand the theories and the ideas behind how this player was able to do this much damage, we can effectively do up to 100,000 damage with any of the characters we have if we build them correctly. And I've made a skill damage calculator. You can see which part of the damage goes into where, and then you can look towards making your support characters similar to what he did with Bennett, Sucrose, and also Ember. No 5 stars needed, so you can start to build your team with support units around your best character and to do a lot more damage. We're going to go into this damage analysis first looking at the 4 characters that was used in the party. We can see there's Mona, Bennett, Sucrose, and also Ember. Why did he use those characters? Let's have a quick look. The Mona in his team is probably level 80 Mona with base attack and also with a pretty high base attack, at least 800, and also with the level 80 Skyward Atlas, also the Lost Prayer, so it's one of the 5-star items. The Skyward Atlas gives him higher attack bonus buff, and also the Lost Prayer gives him a higher multiplier for the elemental damage buff. Now why would anyone use Bennett? I was wondering the same thing. Bennett is a Pyro character. Now if we look into Bennett's elemental burst, what it does is it creates a buff for the entire team for 56% of Bennett's damage. And as a rough estimation, for 1600 damage Bennett or 2000 damage Bennett, you're looking at least 800 to 1000 bonus damage to any character under Bennett's ultimate, and this makes him so much stronger. So my next question was, why did he use Ember? Ember is also a Pyro character. Having 2 Pyro characters on the team allows us to have the 25% increased attack bonus for the entire party. On top of that, Ember can use artifact sets similar to the Nobilis Obligate to allow increased attack percentage for the entire party for another 20%. And finally, the last support character is Sucrose. Sucrose is by far one of the strongest support characters because the amino damage he can provide and also the synergies. If you come over here to the Sucrose passive, you can see that Sucrose triggers swirl effect. He will increase the elemental mastery for the other party members by 50. And this is quite sizable damage. We're looking at least about 10% increased damage for the party of the elemental synergies, which we'll look at with Hydro and also Pyro. Next up, if you're fortunate enough to unlock Sucrose with 6 constellations, and what that allows is another 20% elemental bonus damage. So coming back to our notes over here, you can see the reason for Bennett, Sucrose, and also Ember for the double Pyro and increased attack. But what about Mona? Herself is going to be the star of the show, and Mona has so much potential with her damage. If we come over to her burst damage, it's a massive multiplier of 442% with the delayed bubble explosion. After that, with Mona's Ascension 4 passive, what she does is she will increase her Hydro damage depending on her speed of energy recharge. So if your team built support with energy recharge for her, she can energy recharge faster and also deal more Hydro damage. And finally, with 1 constellation of Mona unlocked, we're looking at another 15% increased Vaporize damage. And this makes Mona so much stronger with Vaporize, with Pyro plus Hydro. And because we're talking about elemental combinations, I'll show you guys a quick glance of my next guide with elementals. So if we come over here, you can see that Vaporize is Pyro plus Hydro. If you were to debuff enemies with Pyro first, then Hydro, we're looking at a 200% multiplier of increasing damage. And this is what the Mona team is doing. He will be debuffing enemies with Pyro, with Bennett, and also Ember. And after hitting Hydro damage onto the Pyro debuff units, he will be doing 200% more damage. Now if you haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so. Make sure you also turn the bell on for the latest news as I find more of them for us. You can see that we're really dedicated for Genshin Impact. We'll have builds, guides, tips, news and events updates for everything that's Genshin Impact related. Now that we can see the potential of a full party of units supporting one DPS character, let's look into the artifact sets that's making this possible. There is going to be the Veteran set for the 40% resistance to any of the elements that's produced by Swell, and also the Crimson Witch set increases Vaporize by 15% damage, and lastly the Noblest set for the elemental burst damage by 20% increase. Over here, if you guys remember, we do have an artifact tier list, and I've highlighted the 3 artifacts. The first one increased Pyro damage for Bennett, and also increased Vaporize damage by 15%. We can have this one on Bennett. And after that, we're going to look into the Vetted Destin set, which is going to be Sucrose's default item, and this will make him so much stronger, increase his animal damage, and also increase the damage dealt by the element that he creates throw with. If we debuff enemies with Hydro first, then followed by Anemo, enemies' resistance to Hydro will be reduced by another 40%, and this makes Sucrose such a good support. And finally, we can consider the Noblest set for the elemental burst damage for Mona, and also for the final set for the increase of attack for Ember. The other 2 pieces can go anywhere for Mona as well to increase her damage or increase her burst spells or even critical rate. Now that we can see how those artifact sets synergizes, what are the artifact stats we can build towards more damage? Now, often people have said go for attack, but that is the start. What we'll be aiming for is Hydro bonus damage and also critical damage bonus. If we come back over here with our characters, you can see that for the Goblet, you can go for elemental damage. This is the Goblet that we're going to go for the Hydro damage. And after that, we'll be looking for the highest critical damage possible with some of the substats like critical rate, energy recharge, and attack percentage for Mona. Keep in mind guys, the higher her energy recharge rate is, the higher she does Hydro damage. Now if we come back to this picture, if we look carefully, you can see that currently there is 2 buffs of attack sign on the entire party. What that means is the entire team is under 2 attack buffs. One is from food, one is from potion. If we come over here, we can see the best attack potion is going to be the Adept's Temptation with 372 increase in attack damage and also critical rate. You could also go for the 20% attack critical damage, but I think this is more common to be used for the highest damage buff. And similarly, if we come over here for the Hydro increase damage, we're seeing another 25% of increased Hydro damage with the Streaming Essence Oil. On the 500,000 damage screenshot, we can see that it was dealt on the Abusive Floor 7. This is a special floor with 120% critical damage buff. If you guys not sure what I mean by that, let me show you guys over here. So I'm over here with Pyro Abuse, and if you go into each of the floors, they have a special buff bonus. Some gives physical damage, some gives critical damage. For this particular floor, critical hit gives elemental particles, and also critical damage dealt by all party members is increased by 120%. This is a massive damage boost. Coming over to our Excel calculation over here, I have used a lot of the estimated values because I cannot find the exact data for the Chinese player. Over here, we assume the base attack for Mona is about 1400 multiplied by 1.9 or 190% of the attack bonus, and also 800 bonus damage from Bennett's buff with his burst damage. The skill multiplier for Mona is 442%. We're looking at about 220% critical damage on the floor 7 for Spiral Abuse, with a bonus 120% added in for this match. After that, Elemental Mastery pretty much give us about 50% for the Vaporize increased damage, and also Elemental Defense will be probably 30% with Sucrose casting the Swell beforehand. We also know that Vaporize, if we debuff enemy with Pyro first, we're going to look at 200% bonus damage, then applying the Hydro damage on top of that. Mona does have a Vaporize bonus damage of 15%, and after that we're looking at passives, elemental bonus, and also gears from artifacts for about 90% Hydro elemental bonus. Followed by that, we're looking at the burst spell damage for 20% bonus damage. Eventually, the total damage before food, potions, or anything else is about 370,000, and after that we can have potions for another 25% increase in damage, and then we can have food for additional 50,000 bonus damage. So this is where we can get close to that particular number. Now coming back to the rhetorical question at the start, what does it mean for me? And as a player, I don't play Mona, how does it work for me? What we can do is, now understanding how the skills can be calculated with different support characters, for example Bennett for his burst damage increasing attack percentage, and also having 2 fire characters or 2 pyro characters, and also use of Sucrose. What we can do is, we can build our team around it. Let's use Diluc for example. If I'm using Diluc as a Pyro character, what that means is I don't need Ember on the team because I can use Bennett and also Diluc. After that, I'll keep Sucrose and I can also add another support character for more increase of damage. For Team Diluc over here, we can keep the Red Descent set for the reduce of resistance of Pyro. We can use the Crimson Witch on Diluc and also on the Vaporize characters for debuffing enemy with Hydro. We can also keep the Novelist set for another increase of 20% attack damage after casting a burst spell. Similarly, for artifact stats, we'll be looking for Pyro damage bonus, also critical damage bonus. We'll use the same food, we can come to the same floor, and all the damage calculation will be over here the same, except one thing guys, we will not be using Vaporize. What we're going to do is, if you come over here, we'll be using Melt as the combination. We can debuff enemy with Cryo first, then Hydro for 200% bonus damage for Diluc. So this in return means we're changing the damage type from Vaporize into the Cryo and Pyro for Melt. And just a small touch over here, if you guys want to know a full elemental guide, which I'll be making after this video, so I'm still going through the notes, so those are pretty detailed. I do want to make those on a separate video because I feel if we make it on this video, it's too much information. And finally, coming back to the calculation, after replacing Vaporize with Melt, what we're going to do is, we're going to come over here and have a look at Diluc's spells. What are the most highest multiplier with Diluc? Unlike Mona, who does about 442%, Diluc's highest multiplier is about 200%, so we probably won't achieve as hard hitting as Mona, but if we can consistently debuff enemy with Cryo and then apply Pyro onto the enemy, we can do so much more damage. To summarize this video, hopefully you guys found it as helpful as I did as I went through the calculations. I went through a lot of the research. I went through different notes from people and also different attack calculations. I did calculate with the artifact set. I went through all the character passives for the support characters that was available. I went through a lot of things and it was really rewarding. I was able to see the potential for support characters like Bennett, Sucrose, and also even 2 Pyro characters can work with a unique set of artifact bonus. And after that, we can understand how good the Hydro, Pyro or elemental spell bonus damage is, and also with a combination of critical rate, we can hit for massive numbers. The use of food and potions are very important, so if you guys haven't seen my previous food guide, make sure you check it out. We went through all the best food and ways to collect foods with different ingredients. And finally, knowing how attack damage is calculated with everything combined is very helpful. Coming back to Excel over here, if you want to try the Excel by yourself, what I'll do is I'll attach this Excel under the description so you can enter your own numbers and try to test out your own damage. If you're not sure with one of the damage, leave it as 0 for now. It's okay to do a little less damage. And also keep in mind guys, this does not consider the defense of characters. So enemies might have some defense, 20%, 30% defense, so it's likely we'll do less damage. Now if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and also turn the little bell on for the latest news. I'll be looking towards to make more builds, guides, tips and news and event updates for us as we come further into the game. And as always, I wish you guys the best of luck with Genshin and have the most fun in exploring this wonderful world.